I don't flaunt that stuff. The game isn't free.
Search and destroy. Place a charge on your target and level it. Planting at Bravo. Hostile Mosquito is online.
Moving this way.
Setting device on Bravo.
Basically, 15 plus years. 50 to 60 years since
Why is everybody rage quitting? Oh my gosh.
They undergo PTSD treatment and realize what they've done. They've unalived their own child, regardless of who the father was still their child. And that, with the maternal instincts and these, there's like an over, just to put this into perspective, you have to strip womanhood away from a woman, her natural instincts away from her, to be able for her to, like, just operate and cope. That does extremely detrimental things when you go and basically cause a disorder of mind and a disorder of life. Common treatment. Like, you can just, like, when they speak Planned Parenthood sends them to their, like, partner therapists, which some of them have them, right? They have, like, people that they'll recommend to help that they work together with, and they get, like, recommendation fees and stuff like that. So, when they go to these therapists are the pills. They dehumanize the child, first of all, second, and then next, they effectively tell her to trust her maternal instincts in resisting the idea that this was a child, even though anybody with half a brain from high school biology class, and even not even that, just a high school like sex ed class knows that this is their child. Like, that's their own child. So you're trying to direct them to go against their parents.
Search and destroy. 141. Plant a charge on the target and level it.
Claims that, like, oh no, this is bad. No, it's not. It's disenfranchised. It's dehumanizing. It's debilitating and denying their, like, actual existence. But what do we expect from a culture that encourages children and effectively grooms them into even research into treatment? Being infected
You know what
had
I'm
a
talking
botched circumcision, and so they
We're planting a Bravo.
let's raise them as
Device in place. Countdown starting.
massive damage to this one person because it raises her and they went for it, believe that they can do it, so all these different things, and then he finds out what happens.
Moving to my mark.
Yeah, later on in his life, and he
Target destroyed. Solid work. You won that round. Get ready for the next one. Search and destroy. Move in and detonate the target. You've secured the device.
because they think that it just benefits them. It's almost like, you know, you were getting we're talking all the time. It's like,
Moving.
telling you this thing makes sense, but I don't care.
Setting device on Bravo.
So, the medicals are there.
On planting. Set containment.
Anxious and scared. And like, they genuinely overcome these problems. Just
Moving here.
it transcends emotion instinct to be anything, right? Is that we anxiety to be community again. They're used to be as like neighbors, like knew each other. Where it was instead of events, where there was interaction. You know, we each other's
Target destroyed. Mission accomplished. Round secure. On to the next.
a national like crisis and the 1928 communities
Switch aside.
and then including families and
Search and destroy.
communities that work within other larger
Set up security around the objective.
and to help each other out. It was the American that was the American that was Western way. And there's this giant like projection of Western ideology and Western culture. And I think a lot of it has to do with this resentment because these individuals from these third world countries and all this such thing.
Moving to my mark.
Like is what they've grown up with, right? And they're resentful to individuals who have these things. Like I think that leads into like the Somalis too. Like you can even associate that with this, like why the Somalis think that it's just
Enemy mark.
It's massive fraud. So far, off topic just because I've been talking.
Enemy planted
Should have
an
been
alpha.
dead from that.
Human beings. Human organisms. At least not all cells are whole human organisms. The thyroid blood cell is the earliest form of human development. Should be clear from that. Now, it's the human DNA is now being all the some characteristics of life. It's beginning to homeostasis. That's able to,
We lost that round. Prepare for the next one.
that's what they just find out.
Search and destroy. Keep the enemy off the objective.
action ethics. Nice. There's no such thing as a safe action. Not safe, especially in how it's administered, how it's administered.
1 minute remaining.
The other thing about abortion is
Moving this way.
what's called the abortion is that one of the individuals undergoing the procedure is going to end up dead. It's right? They could abort twins. The mom could perish along.
30 seconds remain.
Abortion ends in the death of somebody. There is no safe abortion. Safe as in practice in a medical facility. Okay. So like, so you
10
agree
seconds
that
remaining.
those are unsafe. Because those are not.
Enemy bombers Alpha. The round is lost. Focus on the next one.
Is the unaliving.
Switch sides. Search and destroy.
They're naturally going to exit.
141. Plant a charge on the target and level it.
Extreme danger. And active and imminent threat of mortality or physiological or mental.
Hostiles launched a cruise missile.
To say that, like, abortions or just termination of pregnancy, we might be able to find some common ground. To get at is the things that we were told.
Hostile Mosquito is online.
I don't necessarily care about things, so long as we know what we're talking about here. So, I am able to get with a person for my IUD. Good. You should not be allowed to get an IUD. You should not be allowed to get things that are going
Final
to
minute.
affect negatively and risk them being unalived, especially in particular when they are innocent. That's interesting because my vote casts to be able
30
to
seconds
actually
left.
get abortions, so I guess I do have a choice whether or not you get an abortion.
We lost that round. Prepare for the next one.
Democracy.
Search and destroy.
Society that I live in, I probably
Move in and detonate the target.
yes, they really need me.
You've got the bomb.
Making it my own. And it's the same thing that you do too. So I understand the potential here. Like, you can find a reprehensible
Moving here.
Hostiles deploy the Mosquito. Hostile UAV in the area.
Therefore, you collect and you're using the cover, IUD, or other forms of shit.
1 minute remaining.
Oh, you love that
Round
one.
is lost. Focus on the next one. Switching sides.
So now I'm going to kill you.
Search and destroy.
Prevent you from being able to get any resources.
Set up security around the objective.
And, you know, technology or corpse counts with portable silicone, bio matter, bio research to put in, you know, vaccines.
I don't think.
That's my game. I can't hear I had different areas. That's why I'm going to take my profile picture off. I find it not necessary. I just don't care. You know, it's also a branding thing too. So like, when somebody sees
They planted a Bravo.
then from
Hostile cluster mine detected.
it's an AI like work picture made from picture, so me and my whole team. And it's like I've used it for so long that it's let people know the image. And it's random numbers. So I find that when you shift or change up your picture, it's yes, I'm currently representing
Compromised. Stand down.
it's disgusting.
We lost that round. Prepare for the next one. Search and destroy. Keep the enemy off the objective.
Just so we're clear. First lies right?
Hostile Mosquito is online. Enemy planted at Bravo. Hostile IMS active.
It's actually true. Two sperm can be fertilized. The mechanism which fertilizes female gametes, the sperm that is a male gamete.
Mission failed. Return to base.
Wow. You know, religion took inspiration from this religion before them. After them, actually. Just truth be told, your parents didn't even create you, they created your body. You're gonna say that's still going. Did you get your thing? Because I don't think it makes sense for me to go and then like come back like that. So I guess.
Mosquito deployed!
Counter UAV overhead. Hostile airstrike near your location. Hostile mosquito is online.
Took a shot!
Halfway to mission complete. Finish it. Our mosquito's out.
Got one down!
Tag secure. Kill confirmed. Confirmed.
Loading! I'm never down for long! Loading them back!
Throwing shots today.
Hostiles launched a cruise missile. Nice run. Kill confirmed. Be ready to deploy. Confirm that one. Aircraft available.
Charging back! Drop the beat recon overhead!
UAV is on station.
Time to tap over. Maintain the lead.
On your side! Hey, Verma! Take that! Sound turret deployed! Loading!
Be advised.
Stun grenade out!
Confirmed. Friendly counter UAV is online. Confirm that one.
you guys think of the Outback breed, Doug? I mean, can you fill us in on the Outback food stuff? Because for me to play, so too much yellow stuff. Okay, so you guys know that Outback breeds, they don't have one original name. They're the ultimate reaction channel of people that eat off other people's plates. And they really hate white folk. It is. DC has always had a rocky history of news. Sure, there have been highlights like the artists here. This is where they'll cover stories when it should be backed up, and they say, well, I'm not saying that we have to do this, so they try to turn those difficult boss fights in the hardcore games. One of the very old first because it's best fans lock them for them.
Tossing tactical!
All operatives, you're clear to engage.
Tactical out! I'm hit! There we go! Tossing tactical! Tactical out!
Listen, they're ancestors.
Enemy UAV active.
Tossing tactical!
Troops in contact!
Hostile eliminated. Switching mags. Tactical out. Taking fire.
UAV
Sniper's down.
online.
Tossing tactical. Jet keep. We're on the same side. Tactical out.
Hostile UAV
Loading
in the
fresh
area.
mag. I'm hit.
Friendly UAV on station.
Switching
The
mags.
enemy is gaining ground. Push them back. Hostile cruise missile incoming.
Changing mags.
Enemy UAV.
Taking fire. There we go.
With you,
Tossing tactical.
Friendly
Tactical out.
UAV online.
got your back.
Hostile UAV in the area.
I'll move us.
Tactical
Friendly
out.
cruise missile deployed.
On your six.
Tossing tactical.
Nice out. Reloading.
Oh, check your fire.
Online.
Tactical out.
Hostile cluster mine active.
Shooting it up.
Friendly over.
Requesting recon at my location. Tossing tactical. I'm hit.
Heavy UAV on station.
Tactical
Carry
out.
on to the left.
Loading flashback.
UAV is bingo fuel.
Tossing tactical.
UAV online. Position compromised. Right.
If you've seen any of these Iron Man helmets lately, it's because they are going viral for the new look and insane voice features.
People in Belleville, New Jersey just elected the youngest mayor in state history at just 24 years old. He still lives with his parents, but he's no stranger to politics. He was elected to the school board while he was still in high school. News Reporter reporting in Belleville tonight explaining what could play a role in the big win.
At just 24 years old, meet the soon-to-be youngest mayor in New Jersey. That's Belleville Councilman Frank Velez, who won nearly 60% of the vote in Tuesday's election, unseating the two-term incumbent. Epic age for Saul, your favorite YouTuber, the person who is giving you countless hours of entertainment.
You are being lied to when people say that selling Green Man t-shirts are dead and oversaturated. Because
They made He's the European Council. Nobody goes to Messi sport every year. A man was accused of cannibalism and sued. He was the European Council. Your future husband.
I just saw 120,000. I said 400K to 20 million. I don't know.
That's a pretty big range.
I don't know.
So 400K was it 20 million? They made the caterpillar smell beautiful. The caterpillar was ready to transform.
Team deathmatch. Engage and destroy the enemy. All of them. Enemy's taking the lead.
Nothing. Aim for the enemy.
We lost the lead. Hostile UAV in the air. We are taking the lead.
That was close.
Enemy's taking the lead. We secured the lead.
Swapping mags.
Taking the lead. Missile incoming.
I'm out of Sonic kill.
I need medical. Stun grenade out! Grenade! This belongs to you!
UAV in the area. Hostile cluster mine active.
Nothing stop! Aim for the enemy!
Moving it hard.
Stun grenade out! I'm hit! Got one down!
Friendly mosquito active.
Changing way!
Return to base.
Taking fire!
Sheriff's what's behind the bulk mania. The process seems to keep you from burning your hand. Now let's get it all the way out. What's the see, all right, that's it right there. And you're going to see that it has two of these tools right here. All right. Now you just press the button in and pull this out because you can finish it. Switch compared to the fire. For 77 minutes, one man. Speaking of work, it was like a game almost 20 years.
That's some girls to go.
Maybe. No. Space to time.
Cast night here in Detroit. I would be scaring people in the bathroom with a fake mouth. Search and destroy. Watch the objectives. Set up security. planted at Alpha.
Flanking here.
All operatives, bomb defused. You've won that round. Get ready for the next one. Search and destroy. Defend the objectives.
Moving this way.
They splintered at Bravo. We lost that round. Prepare for the next one. Switching sides. Search and destroy. Plant the charges and demolish the objectives. You've secured the device.
Flanking here. Moving this way.
We're planting at Alpha.
Don't know how he's not dead. I shot him like 18,000 times.
One minute remaining.
$10
30 seconds remain. The round is lost. Focus on the next one. Search and destroy. Place the charge. Detonate the target. Hostile UAV in the area. Round secure. On to the next. Switching sides. objectives. Set up security.
Moving here.
Flanking here. Careful. Area's hot.
Cancel last.
Final minute. Enemy bomb at Alpha.
Moving this way. Disregard.
Bomb site is still hot. Move fast. Bomb disarmed. You've won that round. Get ready for the next one. Search and destroy. Defend the objectives.
Flanking here.
Only you remain. Finish the We lost that round. Prepare for the next one. Switching sides. Search and destroy. Plant the charges and demolish the objectives. You've got the bomb.
Moving this way. Flanking here.
Setting device on Alpha. Stand by.
Movement here.
Cancel last.
Device in place. Countdown started.
Moving this way.
What's that thing? That stun grenade.
Our device was disarmed. The round is lost. Focus on the next one. Search and destroy. Place the charge. Detonate the target. You've secured the device.
Flanking here.
Hostile Mosquito is online. the mission. One minute remaining. We're planting at Alpha. We're planting at Bravo.
Thank you.
We lost that round. Prepare for the next one. Switching sides. Search and destroy. Watch the objectives. Set up security. Hostiles launched the cruise missile. Hostile care package incoming. Hostile mortar strike near your position. Final minute. Thirty seconds left. Mission failed. Return to base.
I mean, Kay was over here the other day, just absolutely destroying something else. Maybe just, oh yeah, I invite her for shows. She is one of 9 teens accused of being part of the plot to kill a fellow publisher. They get to react with America entry. This makes her
Secure our objectives. Do not let your guard down. You've won that round. Get ready for the next one. Search and destroy. Set up a perimeter around the objectives. Do not let them reach it.
Moving this way.
One minute remaining. Enemy planted at Alpha. Bomb site is still hot. Move fast. All operatives, bomb defused. Round secure. On to the next. Switching sides.
Yeah.
Search and destroy. Place the charges on the target and destroy it.
Flanking here.
Only you remain. Finish the mission. We lost that round. Prepare for the next one. Search and destroy. Use the charges, blast the target. No mistake. It's down to you. Finish the mission. The round is lost. Focus on the next one. Moving to my mark. Switching inside. Search and destroy. Secure our objectives. Do not let your guard down.
Moving this way.
Final minute. We lost that round. Prepare for the next one. Search and destroy. Set up a perimeter around the objectives. Do not let them reach it.
Dang it.
Midway.
He literally
1 minute
told me,
remaining.
I just oh, ticks.
You've won that round. Get ready for the next
Let's do
one.
face, body, to starting to.
I would rate my face a 9.99, overall a 9.99.
Switching sides.
Face 10, body 10,
Search
all
and
10.
destroy.
I think highly of myself, but I don't want to
Place
give
the
an
charges on the
exact
target
rating.
and
I hope that
destroy
you
it.
can hear that.
It depends. My boyfriend definitely does. He actually thinks I'm 10. I think I'm above average attractive for sure.
8 face, 8 body, 8 8.5 face, 7, actually 7.76 body, and then overall 8 5 face, 4 body, so
You interpret yourself.
9 face, 8 body, 8 overall. I would say 4 face, 3 body, maybe like 3.5.
We're planting at Bravo.
Like a 6.
Device in place. Countdown started.
Myself is 7.
Flanking here.
Face. Overall 7.
Oh, change face.
Round
Alright,
secure.
I get my
On to the next.
Songs that sound happy but are actually disturbing. This track was played at every wedding, graduation, and party for 2 decades. What we realized that some radio stations eventually refused to play the original version.
Search and destroy.
In the lyrics, back in 2007, the 17-year-old
Use the charges. Blast the target. No mistakes.
right now, almost survived that memory of love. Nobody was actually listening to what he was saying. So buried inside that catchy chorus is a line.
Enemy movement.
It changes the meaning of the track. The thing is, once you notice it, you can't unhear it. The entire song is awesome.
You've won that round. Get ready for the next one.
relationship fails. As it turns out, the lyrics were so dark that countries like Ireland and the UK started censoring the song. Just to make it safe for the radio. While millions of people were dancing to the rhythm, they were actually
Switching sides.
a lyric about someone being suicidal. The most mysterious part is
Search and destroy. Secure our objectives. Do not let your guard down.
Rose said that I can't release me.
Friendly cruise missile approaching target. Friendly UAV online.
Well, sure is. That's not what anybody in the gas is telling you. So I'm
Visible threats on target. Solid work. We have secured the field. Mission accomplished.
Into it. After
Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Now I'll keep getting requests to make an editing tutorial, so I'm going to kind of do that. It isn't really editing in the sense I'm just going to be editing some of my plastic or something.
Once Android 18's emerged, just like King Cole, it's one of the hardest cases to identify the individual survivor. But by paying close attention to the events,
Search and destroy. Defend objectives.
Moving this way.
The round is lost. Focus on the next one. Search and destroy. Watch the objectives. Set up security. Round secure. On to the next. Switching sides. Search and destroy. Plant the charges and demolish the objectives. You've got the bomb.
Flanking here.
Got movement.
One minute remaining.
Enemy riot shield marked.
We lost that round. Prepare for the next one. Search and destroy. Place the charge. Detonate the target. You've secured the device.
This one's got a riot shield.
Moving this way. Flanking here.
You've won that round. Get ready for the next one. Switching sides. Search and destroy. Defend the objectives.
Riot shield marked.
Moving this way.
Careful. Area's hot.
Final minute. Round secure. On to the next. Search and destroy. Watch the objectives. Set up security.
How was that not a kill? I don't know.
Moving.
1 minute remaining. Enemy planted at Bravo.
Yes.
Enemy riot shield.
Guys, enemy bomb is still active. Move to defuse. Stand down. The round is lost. Focus on the next one. Switching sides. Search and destroy. Plant the charge. Friendly UAV online. You've got the bomb.
Flanking here.
We lost that round. Prepare for the next one. Search and destroy. Place the charge. Detonate the target. You've secured the device. Friendly UAV on station. The round is lost. Focus on the next one. Switching sides. Search and destroy. Defend the objectives. Friendly UAV online. Hostiles deploy the Mosquito. You've won objectives. Set up secure friendly UAV on station.
I know I'm not the only one seeing this too. Is it just me, or does Lana Rose look like Cillian Murphy? That she is starting like one.
Round secure. On to the next.
He needs a meal. Why are you excited to have a kid? And what are you gonna do?
I'm actually really evil to good men. I'm mean to them. I don't know, it's just like something inside of me that...
Today I will be reviewing a 144
Search and destroy.
set from eBay. This particular set was brought to my attention
Defend
by another
objectives.
channel, Plastic Fit, which features the infamous channel pose for plastic apocalypse saber-tooth.
Moving this way.
IMC Productions also made a review of these poses, and I would recommend checking out both channels as they post similar remake content that is amazing. The soldiers come in an unmarked plastic bag, which is a little cloudy. The shipment didn't come with much padding. As you'll see later, there was some damage to the figures. Here are all the figures lined up.
Shotgun point blank range doesn't do anything.
Enforced green.
No visible threats on target.
The
Solid
amount
work.
of figures per side
The mission is complete. Good work.
47 greens, 51 tans, and 48 grays. You will notice that the numbers added to 146 because I received extra damage to the soldiers. There are a total of 20 unique poses. Fortunately, the pose variety is not consistent, with some sides not containing a pose. The plastic is slightly better in quality than a dollar store brand of soldiers, but the clarity of some of the sculpts are weak. Alright, let's get a closer look at the poses.
Search and destroy. Set up a perimeter around the objective. Do not let them reach it.
Now I'm going to compare the soldiers to Timmy soldiers. The standing soldiers are a bit shorter than Timmy, which is fine, but there are some that are complex. The closest match in height is the RPG gunner and the crouched Timmy soldier, but even some of the standing poses are shorter than the crouched pose. Outside of these shamrock poses, the rest of the figures are clones of Airfix and Matchbox World War II soldiers. It's a little weird to see World War II with the Vietnam air soldiers. That's what a lot of Chinese armament used. The Airfix German infantry soldiers are so tall compared to the knockoffs, it looks like the army had a Bring Your Son to War Day. Some of the shamrock poses are actually clones of older figures, which the Plastic Commander dives deep into. Once again, go check out his video to see more in-depth information about that. Like I mentioned earlier, there were poses that were damaged during shipment, which was a little annoying, as you aren't guaranteed all poses for each side.
Saw us tacos now? Legit taco. This is perfect. Yeah, I'm gonna come back for these. You'll get it again. I'm around a lot of rich men because I just know where to find them.
Ice cream is beloved around the world and compared to other...
Rookbunk is currently going viral and is leaving everyone watching Robin highlights until he uses his right foot.
Home disarmed. Round secure. On to the next.
Hello, I'm gonna keep up last week's stat.
Switching sides.
Taobao, 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 Taobao. I've...
Place the charges on the target and destroy it.
So this recent Drake's next album, Iceman, was certified. He is better than...
Website. Black and white photos and color ones. If you go to this website, you'll find custom text emojis that you can copy and paste. When you go to this website, you can select the food in your fridge and find tasty meals to cook. Websites to cure boredom? Part 50. Did you know that if you go to this website, you can turn outdated black...
Final minute.
I'm a gentleman. I don't know why you...
30 seconds remain. Setting device on Bravo. Bomb planted. Set containment. You've won that round. Get ready for the next one. Search and destroy. Use the charges, blast the target. No mistakes. You secured the device. Enemy UAV active.
Jack.
if you're a Christian thinking about starting a business, don't. Starting a business is a terrible idea.
1 minute remaining.
Violations arise from this disclosed in your book SASB 123R and Internal Revenue Code Section 409A.
About the Sarbanes-Oxley Act. Statute of limitations under Sarbanes-Oxley.
That Steven Crowder is thinking about running for office in 2028. Let's check it out. And also, let's hear Nick Fuentes, because you already know he's got something to say.
30 seconds left. Round secure. On to
Let's
the
try to
next.
guess the name of these D-list celebrities. That's Tila Tequila. She's been pretty popular. It's like a millennial pull, though. I don't think anybody under the age of 20 will know her. She's like Paris Hilton. Cool. I would not count Fred as a D-list celebrity. He's probably B-list. He was like the most subscribed YouTuber at one point. Shout out to Fred, man. He's shank, okay?
I'm Philadelphia.
I don't know what she's up to nowadays. I didn't look it up either, honestly. Nice. Oh, I know who this is. It's a singer. What's his name? Is this Omi, right? Someone like that? Tayo Cruz. Oh, duh. King Batch. He's probably C-list, maybe B-list.
I know, yeah.
Everyone knows King Batch. He's an OG. Okay, cool. Oh, this guy's like the perfect D-list celebrity, because I know him because he's from This Is the End. I know his face, but I don't know his name. Jay Baruchel, alright? And then, I've never seen this man in my entire life. William Fichtner. Okay. Let's try to guess the name of these D-list celebrities. Over here.
All operatives, bomb defused. You've won that round. Get ready for the next one. Search and destroy.
In 4 months for less than $4,000.
Secure
I'm
our
going to tell you
objective.
guys exactly
Do not
how
let
I
your
did
guard
it.
down.
I'm making this video because I want to help out other people who also want to get their degrees. Do you need a degree to be successful in today's world? No. I know a lot of people who are successful without having to. So I'm 20 years old now. I have
Hostile UAV in the area.
This is 50 Venus flytrap items, and in this video, 1,000 flies in the same containers. Now, will the sheer number of flies
Only you
trigger the
remain.
traps?
Finish the mission.
Or the flies that just... I don't know, but that's why I bought this. This is 1,000 fly larvae. Yeah, might look extremely nasty, but over the next week, as long as I feed them food, they should all turn into flies so I can do these. So while we get these guys to turn into flies, obviously I have all of these Venus fly traps, but I also have tons of other carnivorous plants that you may have never even seen before. Meaning I'm going to be able to do tons of different tests in this video. It's going to be super cool. And for test number 1, I want to show you guys the Venus fly traps. Now I know it may sound stupid, but I promise you how they work and catch insects is actually truly insane. And yeah, it's not a joke how small these things are, because when compared to normal Venus fly traps, the jaws are about 10 times smaller. In fact, they're kind of cute, to be honest. But since these are minuscule, the normal press feed in my videos is not going to cut it. Yeah, sorry, Cricket, you get to live another day. That's why instead, I got literally the smallest thing available.
Round secure. On to the next.
These are flightless fruit flies, which if you've seen my channel before, you know they're pretty much the most useless animal. Because seriously, how are you a fly that doesn't have the ability to fly? That doesn't make any sense. But anyways, I put the smallest Venus flytraps in the testing enclosure, then I put one of these flies inside to see if he'd get caught. Start the timer. Now this fly didn't waste any time, because it immediately walked straight up to one of the Venus flytrap pods, and then started going all over the tops of the jaws. Absolutely risking his life. You may already know this, but normal Venus flytraps work by with these super tiny trigger hairs inside of them that when a bug or something touches them, it snaps shut. But these traps are obviously the smallest in the world. because they have extremely small trigger hairs. And I'm talking so small that if I zoom in like 100x on this footage, they're so thin that my camera can't even pick them up. And I guess the trigger hairs were quite literally so thin that every time this flightless fruit fly walked inside the jaw of a trap, the jaw didn't close at all. The fly was able to just walk out. And it kind of makes sense that these flightless fruit flies weigh about 0.0003 grams. So yeah, I guess the traps quite literally can't even be triggered by how light their weight is. Yeah, clearly the fruit flies aren't going to work, so instead I got the world's smallest cricket set to test. Let's see if this works any better. And oh boy, let me just tell you, things were a lot more interesting this time around. Because once again, the cricket walked straight up to one of the trap pods and started climbing all over the again. But this time, quite literally within 30 seconds, the cricket happened to put his face up to the lip of one of the Venus fly traps. You may also already know this, but these plants produce a special kind of nectar around the lips of their jaws to lure insects in like this cricket. And you can see it was working pretty well because this cricket was just absolutely slurping this nectar up. But he was getting a bit too distracted because he then stepped into the trap, probably stepping on the micro hairs, which then caused the jaws of it to close. But the cricket was too fast and he was barely able to make it out with his life thing. And that was a close call, but you can see how easy that happened. And yeah, guys, this is only later, the cricket did the same exact thing. He walked up to another jaw, straight into it, and yeah, this time the trap closed on him while he was starting to walk out, sneaking out of his body and sneaking out of the trap. Even though these are the smallest fly traps in the world, they trap insects nearly just as well as fully grown ones. Pretty interesting. And yeah, while I wait for this 1,000 flies to hatch so we can do the final test, in the meantime, I want to show you some other insane carnivorous plants that you may have never seen before. The second one being sundews. Yeah, everyone knows what Venus flytraps are, but not everyone knows what a sundew is. They're actually pretty cool. Let me show you. So obviously, like flytraps, sundews are also a carnivorous plant, except instead of having jaws, it has these long stems with these little red hairs. Each of these little red hairs is a special kind of sticky glue it produces. That will make it so when a fly or any other insect touches it, it gets permanently stuck because of how sticky it is. And when an insect gets stuck on here, the trap does something insane to be able to consume the insect, which I'll show you very soon when it obviously traps an insect. So yeah, I got multiple of these sundew plants, and I even got this slightly different kind of sundew called an octopus plant. That would be cool to see if this can catch any insects as well. So let's get these in the testing machine. And for this, I think I'll be using a cricket once again because they're literally perfect. They can climb up the side of the stems and yeah, just get stuck. Just put this dude inside. So yeah, once again, I just started with one of these guys, but if this guy gets caught fast, I'll be adding way more inside here. Anyway, so this cricket, for the first minute, I just wandered around the walls of the enclosure, but it wasn't long until he started heading towards the sundews. Now you see, the sticky glue that this plant produces is actually a type of nectar, which smells and tastes great to the insects. So yeah, just like how Venus flytraps lure insects to their nectar, these traps do the same thing. Because this cricket then decided to start climbing up the stem. The only thing is, though, that he ended up stopping right before the sticky part, and that's actually because of his antennas. See, crickets have these pretty long antennas that help them navigate and detect danger before running into it. And this guy's getting stuck in the sticky nectar. By using its mouth, it was able to pull the antenna back and then started to pull the nectar off of it. Yeah, and I'm not kidding. This guy was stuck here for like 30 minutes, constantly flicking his antennas, then looking at back. The round is lost. Focus on the next one. Carnivorous plant and just getting its nectar for free. So I just push him towards it with my tweezers since he really wasn't going to do it on his own. And yeah, he is going to end up falling off. Yo, what the heck? I was just trying to record that. I realized that there's a jumping spider in here. Do you see that? It's on the little... Yeah, this jumping spider just happened to wander into this enclosure by accident. I guess he was just living somewhere in my house. But since he was here, I figured I'd just watch him, see if he would get caught by the traps. And pretty quickly, he started to climb the steps of the trap and got up to the sticky part. But yeah, he was kind of too smart for this trap too. It turned out the second he realized it was sticky. It was pretty cool to watch this guy just jump over the plants. However, he never really ended up getting trapped, and he ended up just climbing out of the enclosure. Alright guys, I'm not gonna lie, this cricket, I've been trying to record him getting eaten for like 2 hours now. And every time, right before going to the sticky part, he just stops and hits his antenna, and he just turns around never actually get on this part. He's too smart for this. We take this.
Dang, everybody died.
Actually, let's revise again. Because apparently this is actually somebody's favorite insect. And yeah, I just dumped a few on the sand, and it wasn't long until some of them started to climb all over the stems, and eventually started getting stuck all over the different sticky parts.
Everybody died. How do you lose that?
Mission compromised. We failed.
Ancient humans had no private parts. I even went and just dumped a crazy amount of these flies all over the top of Sunday plans to show you guys exactly how it works.
German cockroach. The German cockroach is the small indoor cockroach that most people associate with
How is he not dead? What?
They're taking Alpha.
HQ, we've gathered intel on the 3 hostages at their current location.
Continue on mission.
We control
for the enemy.
not doing that nonsense. My brother,
Counter UAV destroyed.
soccer, had to play the game. That was when Deadliest Warrior was airing. It's like airing the same time. It's like, I think it's like the Shaolin Monk episode or the CIA. I can't remember.
UAV online.
Happy to step in.
Secure the area.
Watch out, Germans!
You know what to expect. These mercs will kill the POWs if they know we're here. We got to get all the Marines out alive. Let's move.
Confirming next hard point. Stand by. Secure the area. Enemy UAV active. Mission time is up. Hard point reloaded. Stand by. Hardpoint relocated. Secure the target.
Sweep the area and make sure we haven't missed anything.
Hostile VTOL overhead. Hostile UAV in the area. Enemy UAV active.
Flash out!
Confirming next hard point. Stand by.
had their load chamber.
Friendly UAV on station. Friendly UAV online. 50 seconds remain. Hostile UAV in the area.
Swapping max!
Ready to deploy.
Requesting recon flyover! Changing back!
UAV orbiting the AO. Recon is online.
Friendly mortar strike on the way. 10 seconds remaining. Hardpoint relocated. Stand by.
Alright, watch your fire around the POWs. No stray shots.
Area hostage. Move to the hardpoint. The mission is complete. Good work.
DC has always had
Website secure boredom, R49. Did you know that if you go to this website, you'll find this really fun game where you have to remember and guess the correct color? If you go to this website, you can play card games online with your friends. Hi, I'm here for the Loving the Fanboys Most Word. I'm sorry, that's already... It's
just like the Arkham series, but
You cannot reason with this level of nonsense.
asking for a functional definition so we could reverse that part of the conversation. I always acknowledge that history is based on experiment and it's tied to
I reject that there is a definition of universal history.
I've never said that there's a difference. There have been plenty of lowlights throughout, especially more recently. But One Piece is pretty consistently great. The Injustice games, I was never fully able to vibe with the story that they were telling, but the gameplay was awesome.
Introducing new Ben & Jerry's ice cream bars. Put a stick in it. This Saturday only is the one-day shoe sale at Moscow's, the biggest shoe sale of the season. Buy one pair at the ticketed price. Get the
Byzantium was an Orthodox Christian imperium dating back to the time of Constantine all the way up to the 1400s. When John Murray was 47 when it fell to Islam due to liberalization, due to forms of modernization, certain economic open borders policy, shall we say, that led to the decline of Byzantium. So even in the most successful civilization in history, in Byzantium, we begin to notice that the liberalization.
I want to style these jeans. Let's dress. These are a pair of relaxed wide-leg jeans from the brand design. Again, I will just do a little bit of a French tuck on the side just to add a little bit of shape. Obviously, we have the coat box and pants and tote bag. The fashion roll off with my sunglasses, which is from the brand Chimney. And that's today's outfit. I want to style these jeans.
That society is what led to its decline and its eventual collapse, and even falling to Islam.
If we, so I got the rollie on the wrist, the Nike Dunks, and I got these new Chicago Bull shorts to go fit. Tough fit for the date I got tonight, right? Just ask my question. Are you with her? Are you those sneakers? Well, that bro sneak hating this man is a drip chick, man. My guy, you got it all. Bro's like a guy to be dressed and he has his life. That's okay, because I'm going to show you the right way to dress for the female gaze. Dressing for the male gaze means dressing for status, height, trends, and basically stuff that only looks good. But dressing for the female gaze means confident, intentional, and well put together. It also shows effort in that you pay attention to detail. Many women find it attractive on the guy's personal style with he wears quality overclothes, well-fitting.
To unearth women's rights, or the idea of the first wave of feminism. Feminism finds its origins in French revolutionary philosophy, which led to the first wave, I should say, French revolutionary philosophy with Mary Wollstonecraft and others posited the idea of absolute equality.
Now let's say it's 85 degrees outside in your shirt.
Equality in society based around the principles of liberty and equality.
These guys make $1 million a year, making sure you never have to go with him.
Equality, fraternity, all revolutionary at the time, and sought to convert not just the church and not just the state, the monarchy, or a patriarchal society, but all of society.
When I grew up, the name Mother Teresa was synonymous with human goodness. Maybe it still is. She was the tiny woman in simple clothes, cradling dying strangers taken from the streets of Calcutta. She won the Nobel Peace Prize, was later canonized as Saint Teresa of Calcutta. She died in 1997. India gave her a state funeral with the same ceremonial carriage that it carried in 2 decades. For millions, her reputation has been torn apart. First led by writer and journalist Christopher Hitchens, who beat her up with a tough documentary and never stopped punching until he died. These days, you can find her on social media with devil horns and outraged comment sections. So which is it? Is she a sinner or a genuine saint? I'm Ken LaCour. I dig into uncomfortable topics like this to give you as fair of an answer as I can. I went through a lot of charges and a lot of rebuttals. We'll kick off with what she actually did, because the setting for her actions, it matters a lot. Then we'll get into the medical care questions and the serious charges there against her. We'll ask, where did the money go? And then we'll take a look at what some critics call her toxic associations. Finally, take a step back to see the big picture. Do her critics have fair points? Or is this anti-religious zealotry and the internet taking down a nun for support? So to understand what she actually did, we first need to picture Calcutta in the late 1940s. Because without that context, the charges against her are pretty unfair. Agnes Bajashu came from Skopje to India in 1929 at age 19. She had no medical training, no money, and had come to teach school. 20 years later, she founded the Missionaries of Charity to care for the dying. She started with a single donated house in 1950, and by the time she died, that had grown to over 600 missions
in 123 countries. When she arrived, Calcutta was one of the most densely packed cities on Earth, and it was coming apart at the seams. The partition of India in 1947 pushed millions of refugees into an already overwhelmed city. People in the final stages of tuberculosis, cancer, and leprosy, they were literally dying in the gutters by the thousands. Under the prevailing caste norms, many Hindus considered touching a dying stranger ritually polluted. Combined with poverty and overcrowding, most people simply kept walking. There was no functioning public system to care for the dying poor in the streets. Hospitals often turned away patients who were beyond treating, especially if they were poor and alone. So that was the world that Mother Teresa moved to. 2 years after she started her charity, the city donated a space, 2 large halls, about 80 beds, and that became the home for the dying. People were pulled off the streets, brought inside, given food and water and compassion. They were held. They didn't die alone. But what it didn't offer was medical triage, trained clinical care, or meaningful pain management much beyond aspirin. Mother Teresa was clear about this from the beginning. This was a place to die with dignity and to be loved, not a place to be healed. And that the framing there was religious, not medical. By her own account, about 29,000 people died in that house. That's a population of the city living their last days with the nuns. Okay, now flash forward a few decades to the critics. The most serious charges against Mother Teresa were medical care questions about what actually happened inside her homes. Specifically, did the people she took off the street get adequate care? And should that care have changed after her resources grew? But first, how did a nun toiling in India become beloved throughout the television? Her notoriety hit the world stage in the 1969 BBC documentary, Something Beautiful for God. It was directed by Malcolm Muggeridge, then the most prominent religious broadcaster in Britain. He was also a recent religious convert. When the film aired, Muggeridge said that the reaction was greater than anything he'd seen in his broadcasting career. That one documentary launched her global fame, and the world ran with it. In 1979, she won the Nobel Peace Prize. She turned down the traditional Nobel banquet and asked that its cost be redirected to the poor. By the mid-1980s, she was possibly the most famous woman on Earth and essentially untouchable. The first sustained public challenge came from Christopher Hitchens. It was a 1994 documentary called Hell's Angel. He later wrote a short book with the deliberately offensive title, The Missionary Physician. Now, for context, know that Hitchens was a committed atheist who believed that organized religion actively harmed humanity. And he was openly furious at her positions on contraception and abortion. He called her a Catholic fanatic. That doesn't make his facts wrong, but it's important to know that going in. When Hitchens reported after...
I wish actually Christopher Hitchens was... I mean, he changed his opinion, but he was actually anti-abortion, at least in most cases, actually.
...in her homes was no meaningful pain relief for terminally ill patients. No medical triage, with the dying and the potentially treatable mixed together. Reused needles washed in cold water, and poor hygiene throughout. He also charged that her theology, framing suffering as spiritually redemptive, was applied to people who hadn't made that choice and who weren't in a position to refuse. He had more charges against her, which we'll get into, about finances and associations. But his core conclusion was that she wasn't a friend of the poor, she was a friend of poverty. Now, Hitchens came at this with a hatred towards religion, but that wasn't the case with Dr. Robin Fox. He was the editor of The Lancet, perhaps the world's most prestigious medical journal. He also visited and wrote about the Home for the Dying. He opened by acknowledging real strengths. The home was clean. Wounds and sores were carefully tended. Patients were well fed. The nuns showed genuine kindness, and the facility kept an open-door policy that took in people who were turned away by the hospitals. But his medical criticisms were direct. No strong pain relief, like morphine. Needles that weren't properly sterilized. Haphazard diagnosis, and untrained volunteers making medical decisions in the near absence of doctors. He too noted that people who might have survived with proper treatment were sometimes mixed in along with the dying. British volunteer Mary Loudon had also worked at the home for years. Her account, and criticisms from an insider's point of view, aligned with Fox's medical findings. Also, 2005, Donald McIntyre, an undercover British journalist, spent a week at the Missionary of Charity's orphanage for disabled children, and he documented children gagged open to receive medicine and babies bound at feeding time. Credibility-wise, to me, he's in a bit of a gray area. He was a legitimate investigative reporter, but he had a, let's say, flair for the sensational. Throughout his career, he had his share of critics questioning his credibility. It's also important to note that India's first modern hospice didn't open until 1986, and that was 1,000 miles from Calcutta. So if Mother Teresa and her nuns weren't around, the streets were still an option for me. And on the pain relief charge specifically, one defense has real merit, and it almost never gets mentioned. After the Lancet piece ran, 3 palliative care doctors wrote back and pointed out that the absence of strong painkillers wasn't a choice unique to her homes. It was a legal constraint that applied to everyone. India's drug laws made morphine so hard to get that the country's total morphine use collapsed from almost 1,600 pounds in 1985 to 40 pounds by 1997. Even hospitals with licensed doctors found the process almost impossible to navigate. For a non-medical facility run by nuns with no registered physician on staff, anything stronger than aspirin was essentially off the table under Indian law. And that remained true until after her death. Pain relief charge is real, but the ceiling of what she could legally provide was lower than what critics say. Yeah, so I looked for the group's pain management protocol for the homes outside of India, but I just couldn't find any solid information. All right, so before we go any further, please listen to this health message from today's sponsor, Check. Most people think they just pick a Medicare plan and that's it. They're done. Here's the problem. A lot of people end up on a plan that doesn't truly fit their needs, and they don't even realize it. Why? There are thousands of plans in this country, but most brokers only show you the handful that pay the largest commissions. Meaning you could end up on a plan that doesn't cover your doctor or doesn't fit your budget. Chapter is different. They're an independent and honest Medicare advisor. They compare every plan in your area, not just a few, but all of them. Their advisors are on salaries and unbiased so that there's no pressure and no steering you towards certain plans. And here's what I think says the most about Chapter. If you're already on the best plan for your needs, they'll tell you. If not, they'll help you switch. In about 20 minutes, they'll walk you through your options and plan. Berenice IV took the throne of Egypt, plain English, and the call is free. Just last year, Chapter saved its seniors an average of $1,100 a year on healthcare costs. So if you're turning 65 or already on Medicare, call Chapter today at 314-732-0108.
Get the username. I'm a 28-year-old.
Again, that number is 314-732-0108. It can literally save you thousands. All right, so back to Mother Teresa. She built an organization run entirely by women with religious, not medical backgrounds. Their goal was never to build a better facility. It was to provide love and presence to people who had none. In that framework, improving the clinical conditions probably didn't feel like the point. And internally, questioning the way things were done was treated as a lack of faith rather than a reasonable observation. And Mother Teresa was direct about her critics. When asked whether she talked to one or two during their visit.
Subscribe to this channel. It's just not my style. But I've very recently discovered from the analytics that some headlines from YouTube things might offend people. They rarely show subscribers. I literally didn't confirm that until today. Alright, so over her career, I'd say Mother Teresa also developed toxic associations with some of the world's most powerful and most corrupt figures. The question in each case isn't whether she knew bad people. Humanitarians working in the developing world, they routinely deal with awful governments just to keep access. The question is whether she went beyond what was required. In 1981, she traveled to Port-au-Prince and publicly praised Haiti's dictator, Baby Doc Duvalier. She called his wife someone who wishes to demonstrate her love not only with words but also with concrete, tangible actions. 5 years later, the Duvaliers fled Haiti with hundreds of millions of dollars looted from one of the world's poorest countries. Now, the defense here is a practical one. A nun publicly insulted the dictator. She would have been expelled from Haiti, and her patients would have had no one. And organizations operating under authoritarian regimes all over the world, they regularly avoid antagonizing the governments who control their access. Again, did she go further than was necessary to keep her charity doors open? Some say yes, others say no. Then there was American Charles Keating. He was convicted of defrauding thousands of investors out of hundreds of millions of dollars in savings and loans programs. He had donated over $1 million to the missionaries of charity. He flew on his private jet. During his sentencing, Mother Teresa sent a personal letter to the judge asking for a pardon. She wrote that she didn't know anything about his business or politics, but she asked the judge to do what she did. At Bhopal, India, in December 1984, thousands of people died in the carbon gas disaster. She wrote an offer for grieving families and peace. She distributed aluminum medallions and made no demand for corporate accountability. To be fair, telling the wrong to forgive is standard Catholic counsel. Any priest or nun would offer pretty much any context. What made it land badly with some was the platform, the timing, and the absence of any demand for justice. Now, we can look at these examples in one of two ways. Critics call them consistent bowing to wealth and power. To Mother Teresa's supporters, it seems like critics scrolled through her whole life's Twitter feed, grabbing statements and actions that painted her differently than she actually deserved. So let's close by taking a look at the big picture. Start with what she genuinely did.
What the
She
heck?
took real, suffering people off the streets of California, and she made them feel less alone at the very end of their life.
Do you support Israel and the Jewish people? Now more than ever, Israel needs committed friends around the world to voice their support in this.
What is this gun?
It shouldn't be minimized. When Pope Paul VI gave her his personal white limousine during his 1964 visit to India, she raffled it off and funded a leper colony. She wore the same sari for years. She ate basic food, took no salary, and really lived in voluntary poverty. Even her harshest critics don't dispute any of that. And something that didn't become public until after her death also adds a layer of complexity. In 2007, a collection of her private letters revealed that for 50 years, the founding missionary church until almost her death in 1997. She said she privately felt no presence of God. She had asked at least one archbishop to destroy the letters, but he didn't. Now, Hitchens read this as evidence that she'd ceased to believe it was a fraud. Most Christians, they'd read it differently. Doubt and God is part of many serious faith lives, not proof of absent faith. What it does show is a woman of extraordinary will who kept going for 50 years on something other than sin. The strongest defense of her medical record is that her goals were misunderstood. Critics judged her against the standards of the international hospice movement, but she never claimed to be running a hospice. She claimed to be running a place to die with love, staffed by nuns whose vocation was spiritual, not medical. And here's the thing. Even by the 1980s, the desperately poor people dying in Calcutta still had nowhere else to go. The hospitals with better resources still weren't taking all the men. She was still filling a gap that no one else was addressing. And to a large degree, that's still true today in hospitals. They have proper palliative care and trained doctors and real pain management. But those facilities serve patients and families.
Powerful websites you should know. Part 648. Did you know if you go to this website, you can do pretty much anything? From creating slides, websites, apps, videos, spreadsheets, and wait. For example, ask it to build a 3D portfolio for a game designer. Hit enter, and it starts creating it instant. Boom. Super icon.
4-1. Plant a charge on the target and level it.
3 of my nephews, 2 of them were on this.
She is not.
Moving here. You've won that round. Get ready for the next one. Search and destroy. Move in and detonate the target.
Moving.
Picture this. You finally do the responsible thing. You start...
Friendly UAV on station.
These people need to be sent to the gulag. Like, every time I turn on my phone or turn on my computer, there's a new story of a female teacher. That kind of stuff. And I thought that it was just me or the news just trying to happen more than it actually is. But it turns out in the past 4 years, this crime specifically committed by women has increased by like 100%. So it's damn near doubled in the past 4 years. So it's not just me, it's definitely
allegations against another teacher.
Teacher accused of abusing a student has given birth to a baby lived by her young victim.
It's great. I feel like society just demonizes women get away.
Only need these 5.
The data proves you right. Female offenders are
I was at a hotel at the same time.
at an alarming rate, and yet,
if you're the type of person that wants to know every single detail before making a big purchase, this video is for you. The people asking about Wi-Fi requirements, insurance specifics, and even delivery logistics, they aren't overthinking it. They're the ones that build professional operations from day one. I placed over 100 machines, and the smoothest installations always came from the operators who had this checklist dialed before they even ordered. Today, I'm giving you the complete pre-purchase and post-order checklist that'll make your first machine setup so smooth, the property will be begging you for more machines. Save this video because, let's face it, you'll be coming back to it. Step 1, location contract. Here's what you'll need locked down. First thing, never buy a machine without an agreement in place. I've literally seen so many people give machines that are still sitting in their garage without a location to put them in. The second thing with your contract is make sure you actually have an out. Most people are scared to have an out because they think they're going to get kicked out of the property. But if it's a bad location after 60 days, you don't want to keep that machine in there for the rest of the year. The out clause is for you just as much as it's for them. The third thing in your contract is make sure you have access hours at all times. If you hire a stalker that wants to work late nights, he needs to have fob access to get into that machine, whether he's a night owl or an early riser. The other thing in your contract is make sure you take photos of the placement. A lot of these managers say yes, and then
my subcontractor charged me $41,000.
Friendly SAE on the way.
Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey is getting absolutely cooked online, and rightfully so. In full disclosure, it's going to be borderline impossible to show footage of the Odyssey movie itself in this video, because YouTube will definitely copyright strike me into the pits of Hades itself if I do that.
Some choices are tough. On May 19th, you have an easy one. A former U.S. student just went through the motorcade is rolling. It is on the move. White House will say President Xi now is there, is awaiting President Trump's arrival. The children have been gathered there waving flags. Been chanting, welcome, welcome, welcome.
welcome to Beijing. Cannons in place, ready for possibly a military salute. So this is all part of China's protocol for a state visit. A state visit that carries with it so much consequence and so much significance, particularly at this point. Yes, there's going to be this great big grand gesture we're expecting any moment now as President Trump makes his way up the steps of the Great Hall. Will greet China's President Xi Jinping. Then they will go behind the scenes. Bilateral conversations, one-on-one conversations. They last saw each other 6 months ago. Trump was last here back in 2017. In fact, if you want to wind the clock back, President Xi became the chairman of the Chinese Communist back in 2013. Trump was then hosting The Apprentice. Now, the master of The Apprentice is now America's commander-in-chief. And these are the two leaders of strategic adversaries in the world. It is going to be an extraordinary show. As we can see the motorcade now arriving, making its way up. President Trump will emerge very shortly and will shake the hand, we assume, of China's President Xi Jinping. He said Xi would give him a bear hug. I don't think that's going to be taking place in this place of significance and in front of cameras, both for the Chinese press and images that are being shown around the world. President Xi wants to put on a show for America's president. He wants to welcome him, make him feel full of the Chinese people, of the Chinese culture, but perhaps also maybe try and lull him into a little bit of a false sense of security around these negotiations by lavishing such pomp and ceremony upon a man who loves a show and loves a performance. But this is a hugely consequential moment as we look at these pictures coming in from Tiananmen Square, the Great Hall of the People. Back in 1959, and 10 years after the Chinese Communist Party was founded. But this is going to be an extraordinary moment unfolding.
It is the president's car now, the beast arriving there at the Great Hall. President Trump about to emerge and be welcomed, as Jonathan has reviewed there, at the steps of the Great Hall of the People in Beijing. This is opposite the Forbidden City, the Imperial Palace, China's capital. I just don't have to listen to the sound coming from Beijing. Let's have a listen.
Search and destroy. Plant a charge on the target and level it.
No bear hug, a warm handshake, a few words to kick off the G2. The two leaders of the largest, most powerful nations in the world. It's been a delayed meeting, but it's happening, and there is no shortage of red carpet rolled out for Donald Trump as Xi Jinping now takes him to meet members of his Politburo, the senior members of the Chinese government. And you've got the foreign minister there. You can see the top members of the Politburo there to welcome Donald Trump. And also, I've touched on it earlier, a very senior business delegation from the United States, as well as members of Donald Trump's cabinet. This is a significant meeting, and the Chinese president very much rolling out all the pomp and ceremony. As the trade minister Wang Wentao, we know our trade minister's become quite friendly with him. So they've tried to restore trade links between Beijing and Canberra. Everyone's watching this, not just the Australian audience. You know that Taipei, the Taiwan audience will be watching this very closely now as Xi Jinping greets senior members of the Trump cabinet. I want to bring Stash Butler. Stash, the audience in Taipei, Taiwan, will be watching this super closely as Marco Rubio shakes the hands of Xi Jinping, and Scott Bessent and the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, there too. Taiwan watching this very, I think, keenly and maybe a little nervously. Stash.
That's right, Kieran. I mean,
Detonate the
there's
target
been a
objectives,
lot
but
of
expect an enemy
speculation,
squad.
obviously, about exactly what will be discussed
Drop
at
the
this
bomb.
meeting. From the Chinese side, however, it's been characterized as 3 Ts. That's tech, tariffs, and Taiwan. Now, what Xi Jinping will look to get from Donald Trump is obviously not clear. What leverage he has to achieve it is perhaps help ending the war in Iran. That's been the big point of speculation. Now, what exactly could be traded in is unclear, but it's no secret that the Chinese have long opposed US arms sales to Taiwan. That's a point that Xi Jinping could press Donald Trump on. China also regards Taiwan as part of the People's Republic of China, the core of its core interests. In the words of China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi, a big risk in the bilateral relationship. But it may not just be arms sales. There's also been the suggestion that Xi Jinping may try to press Trump for a slight shift in diplomatic language from the US surrounding his position on Taiwan. The US says that it does not support Taiwan independence. That's the position it takes now. There's been speculation that Xi could press Donald Trump to change that to that it does oppose that.
So let's just have a listen now as Star Spangled Banner. It's to be.
Get ready for the next one. Search and destroy. Don't let the enemy level the objectives. Keep them secure.
Moving here. Enemy movement. Scratch that.
Enemy planted at Alpha.
This area has been looted.
So we did the US outfit, now the Chinese, and but let's stay on this natural sound coming through, thank you.
Stand down. We lost that round. Prepare for the next one. Switching sides. Search and destroy. Plant a charge on the target and level it.
My
You've
colleagues,
secured the device.
Kersley, Stash Butler, and Chung Lei with me now. Chung Lei, thanks for being here. This is quite the pomp and ceremony, isn't it, for President Trump and this long-awaited visit?
This area has been
the
looted.
ceremony is nothing new in China, but it's quite interesting for me observing now from the other side of the world. When in 2017, obviously, I was working in Beijing, and back then, my daughter's primary school friend was picked as one of the kids, chosen to do kung fu moves for Grandpa Trump, as he was called. So back then, there was obviously a lot more warmth. I was comparing the Ministry of Foreign Affairs readouts from back then and now. Back then, there was talk about win-win, even from Xi, and 1,000 reasons to improve the bilateral relationship and none to worsen it. But now, the word that is foregrounded in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs read out was equality. Equality followed by respect and mutual benefit, which isn't quite as warm as a win-win. And also the fact that citizens in Beijing have been allowed to be quite open, in criticizing the US or what it's done in geopolitics. That is also very revealing because China can't suppress what it wants to suppress, as we all know. Another interesting difference is that the US delegation, while it is, the biggest names in business, is down from 2017. Back then it was 29, and now it's 17. More richer though. And what's missing is the executives from energy and retail. So it's quite revealing because those industries have been successful in China. And now we have a lot more focus, as you read out the names, whether it's NVIDIA, whether it's Qualcomm, or,
The round is lost. Focus on the next one.
And, these are the titans that, yes, you see the...
Today, we're 2K to win. With the first pick.
Search and destroy.
26, and I'm...
The kids waving their flowers, but
that's
just...
Friendly UAV online.
It's currently 11 a.m. in Beijing, China, and President.
Moving to my mark.
Final minute.
I love that.
30 seconds remain.
I want to thank you very much. This has been an incredible visit.
They
I think
planted in Bravo.
a lot of good has come of it. We've made some fantastic trade deals, great for both countries. He's a man I respect greatly. Can't believe that we've known each other now 11 years, almost 12 years. It's a long time. And we've settled a lot of different problems that other people have been able to settle. And the relationship is a very strong one.
Prepare for the next one.
We've done some wonderful things, I believe. We can discuss Iraq. We feel very similar to Iraq. We want that to end. We don't want that to happen.
Search and destroy.
Yeah, we want the streets. We're closing it down.
Don't let the enemy level the objective. Keep them secure.
We want the streets open. And want them to get it ended because they're crazy. It's no good. It can't happen. It cannot happen. We discussed a lot of other things. Turn the discussions now.
Moving here.
But I just want to thank President.
You've won that round. Get ready for the next one.
And it's an honor to be here. We'll be back. Battling on September 24th. She's going to be the United States and
Switching sides.
Want to understand how buildings actually work?
Search and destroy.
Then this game is for you. You're not just playing, you're learning.
As you may have noticed recently on the show, we've started to focus more on cultural commentary, a little less on politics. And the reason for that is partly, to be totally transparent, I find the entire political podcasting space to be increasingly boring and redundant. Everyone's saying the same things. Everyone is talking about the same stories. Conservative podcasters all repeat essentially the same basic talking points unless they're fighting each other, which is even more boring and at this point even more redundant. So I find it all incredibly uninspiring and uninteresting, which is enough reason to try to find different things to talk about. Also, culture matters.
Search and destroy. Detonate the target objectives, but expect an enemy squad.
So you probably heard that Pope Francis reversed Catholic Church teaching on the death penalty, and now normally, please pay no attention to the floral patterned chair that's right behind me. So it's very girly, but for some reason my wife put that thing in my office, and I don't know why, but I've learned that I'm not any furniture in this house because I don't. It's all been put in a place for a reason. I don't know what the reason is, but there is a method behind it, and so I can't interfere with that process. All right, let me tell you why I'm doing this podcast or this episode of the podcast. Anyway, a few weeks ago, I did a show about young Earth creationism. And I explained why I am not a young Earth creationist. I do not believe
1 minute remaining.
that Earth is 6,000 years old. I believe
You lost that round. Prepare for the next one.
the Bible does teach the truth. But I don't believe that the Bible requires us to believe 6,000 creation. I believe that that view is not only scientifically wrong, but I also think it's theologically wrong. I think it is a misinterpretation, a misreading, a misunderstanding of the text. Now that's my position.
Why do we always lose these games with 5 against 3?
My position is not that the Bible is wrong. My position is that if you read the Bible that way, then I think that you're wrong. I don't think you're a bad person. I don't think you're stupid. I don't think you're a bad Christian. I just think that we have a disagreement on that topic. So there was a lot of reaction to that episode. Some of it was thoughtful and interesting.
Setting device on
Just a
Bravo.
few weeks, probably almost about a month ago. Actually, it's not. It's hardly slowed down. And as I said, some of the heard from a lot of people agree with me, and some of them are afraid to say out loud that they're afraid they'll be disowned by their families.
Damn good job. The mission is complete. Good work.
But some other responses I've gotten, a lot of them. The responses are a bit disappointing, to be honest. So you probably heard that Pope Francis reversed Catholic Church teaching on the death penalty, and
Pope Francis has revised the catechism to...
And now, normally when you hear things like this, you hear that the Pope reversed church teaching on this or that subject. Usually it's untrue. Usually the media is sensationalizing some personal opinion that Pope Francis expressed on a plane when he was talking to journalists or something like that. But in this case, this time it is true. Or it's true anyway that the Pope is trying to officially reverse a teaching of the church that has been in place for 2,000 years. And that is very bad and wrong. And I would even say catastrophically wrong. I want to explain why. There are two aspects to this conversation. One is about what Francis is trying to do and whether he can do it. The other aspect is just the death penalty itself and how Christians are really supposed to view the issue. So I want to tackle both of these things. I want to spend more time on the second point, but let's start with the first. So on the first point, we should recall that the church has taught for 2,000 years. It has always taught, and men like Aquinas and Augustine have affirmed this. Website Mike.com has a very important. It's always been taught that the death penalty is, in principle, permissible. in principle, the state has the authority from God to put criminals to death. That is what has always been taught. Even in principle, in years, is always taught, and men like Aquinas and Augustine have affirmed this. It's always been taught that the death penalty is, in principle, permissible. In principle, the state has the authority from God to put criminals to death. That is what has always been taught. Even in modern times, when popes like Pope John Paul II have had personal objections to the death penalty, still, this essential teaching has not changed.
Search and destroy.
That it is, in principle,
Move
permissible.
in and detonate the
There's a lot of discussion about in what context and for what reason the death penalty can be. So I think I figured out why it is that we have socialists in this country be used. So there's a lot of discussion there. And as modern technology has developed and as our prison systems have become more advanced, efficient, and more able to safely segregate prisoners from society, it has been understood by many Christians and some recent popes that the death penalty is no longer necessary in most cases in advanced nations like our own. But still, in principle, it has always been considered a morally acceptable act because governments. Welcome to the show, everybody. Thanks. Have that authority. That is an authority that governments have. And by the way, to say that the death penalty isn't necessary because a country is technological. All right, I'll be at Northwestern University tonight talking about the left's war on reality, their efforts to redefine reality by redefining life, marriage, and gender. So we'll be talking about that tonight. Hope to see you there. Technologically advanced, and they have advanced prison system. Well, to make that argument, that the sole function of capital punishment is simply to remove dangerous people from society in order to protect the safety of individuals in society. Now, that is one view of capital punishment. I should add, it is mostly a modern view, and it is not really in keeping with the historical Christian understanding of capital punishment, which has spent many centuries in capital punishment. It is a punishment. We call it a punishment for a reason, because it also has and as a punitive measure.
Creating Smart 67. These animated creepy stories are pulling in billions of views.
Switch inside. Search and destroy. Set up security around the objectives.
Sure. And as an act of justice. It is a means for society to not only segregate criminals, but to speak out and to say that certain acts are simply intolerable. And that's it. And that's something that can be discussed. You know, we want to talk about the reasons for capital punishment. What is the function of capital punishment? These are all areas where there can be disagreement and discussion and debate. But the relevant point is that the church has never, ever, ever, ever said that punishment is absolute. It is Pope Francis who is now, after 2,000 years, trying to instate that idea. This is not a development of doctrine. It's not what this is. This is a change. He is changing it. And he's not even doing it, we'll talk about this in a minute. He's not even doing it based on development of doctrine. He's basing it on the development of society. And the change in teaching based on how society has developed is, again, catastrophically wrong. Now, on a personal level, it matters how I feel personally, but the irony here is, you know, as I am issuing, I guess, this defense of capital punishment, on a personal level, I've waffled back and forth on the issue quite a bit. I've rarely been firmly on one side or the other, but my personal feeling most recently has been, and for the last few years, that I oppose the death penalty in America. But I don't believe, and have never believed,
Focus on the
the death
next one.
penalty is inherently immoral in all cases across the world. I've never believed that. So, but that's just been my own, that's just been my
Search
personal,
and destroy.
my personal view, though, has no bearing
Keep
on
the enemy
the
off the
moral
objective.
facts of the matter. And it has no bearing on what Christian teaching has traditionally been. There's no bearing on what the Bible says. And I recognize that my personal feelings do not supersede any of those things.
Planted at Alpha.
I've also admitted in the past that my own feeling of we should have the death penalty in America, I admit, it is largely an emotional thing. It's an emotional kind of feeling in the gut of, I don't like the idea of taking a guy out of prison and dropping him into an area, a place, strapped him to a gurney, and injecting poison into his veins. I don't feel right about that. But I recognize, in fact, folks don't care about your feelings, right? So I recognize I still have the feelings, but I don't pretend that my feelings supersede anything. But I have them.
Switch inside.
And it is still, as I said, not inherently immoral. But
move in and detonate the
Catechism now basically says that the death penalty is inherently immoral, although it does not use the phrase inherently immoral. Let's look at here's what the new passage in the Catechism says. Now that Pope Francis has made his unilateral changes to it, it says the death penalty on the part of legitimate authority following a fair trial was long considered an appropriate response to the gravity of certain crimes and an acceptable, albeit extreme, means of safeguarding the common good. Today, however, there is an increasing awareness that the dignity of the person is not lost even after the commission of very serious crimes. In addition, a new understanding has emerged of the significant criminal sanctions imposed by the state. Lastly, more effective systems of detention have been developed which ensure the due protection of citizens, but at the same time do not definitively deprive the guilty of the possibility of redemption. Consequently, the Church teaches, in light of the gospel, that the death penalty is inadmissible because it is an attack on the inviolability and dignity of the person, and she works with determination for its abolition worldwide.
Search and destroy.
So Francis has taken his own personal view,
141.
and he is now putting forward as the position of the Church. This is his own personal view. This is his opinion. This is not what the Church teaches. The Church has not taught that. This never taught that. This is his opinion that he has put into the Catechism and said the Church teaches. No, that's what he teaches. That's his opinion. It has not been shared with the Church. It has not been shared by most of the authoritative voices in Christianity for 2,000 years, and I would argue it is not at all shared by Scripture. And then he justifies the change by quoting himself. That part is the end.
Okay, so CNN had, what was it, a 7-hour climate change town hall yesterday with all the different Democratic nominees. I didn't watch a single minute of it.
I like the old Matt Walsh videos, the old ones.
Setting device on Alpha. Stand by. We lost that round. Prepare for the next one.
Because I don't hate myself personally. The idea of watching 7 hours of that just is inhumane. I mean, you could argue that CNN has violated protections against cruel and unusual punishment just by putting that on the air. And speaking of which, and again, I don't know, and this is a question for you if you watched it, because as I said, I didn't, but they had a live studio audience, right, for the 7 hour thing? Was it the same audience for those 7 hours was actually the same collection of people who sat there for 7 hours watching as one Democratic nominee after another got up there and talked about climate change. I can't imagine that. And if that's the case, where did they get these people? Were they all on work release from a local prison? Were they all, sadomasochists? Was this some sort of weird sexual fetish thing for them? I don't get it. I can't possibly understand. Anyway, so I'm not gonna go through and break down everything that was said. I think that'd be pointless. Though there were a couple of notable moments, I think, looking at based on the replay. Here's maybe my favorite of all the clips I've seen of it. This is probably my favorite moment this is from Cory Booker. Watch this.
So my plan says that we need to be at a zero carbon electricity by 2030.
Return to base.
That's 10 years from the time that I will win the presidency of the United States of America.
Poor old Cory. Poor Booker. He said he was president, and the audience treats it as a punchline. They actually laughed at him when he said he's going to be president. I swear, I'm really starting to feel sorry for Cory Booker, and this has been the weirdest thing for me throughout this campaign. It's one of the reasons why I really resent this political season, because I found myself actually at various points kind of feeling sorry for Cory Booker, Joe Biden, even Eric Swalwell at different points. I've even felt sorry for Beto sometimes. Now, I know they don't deserve my pity, but I just can't help it. I'm a kind and sensitive guy. What can I say? Those are my most prominent personality traits, according to no one. What I really want to discuss, what I want to focus on is one moment involving Bernie Sanders. But actually, before we get there, here's one thing with Andrew Yang that I wanted to talk about briefly. Watch this.
So what's the answer? Are we all going to have to drive electric cars?
We are all going to love driving our electric cars.
Will we have to drive electric cars?
Well, there'll still be some legacy gas guzzlers on the road for quite some time, because this is not a country where you're going to take someone's clunker away from them. But you are going to offer to buy the clunker back and help them upgrade.
So Andrew Yang wants the government to buy everybody's car. And that's on top of the, $1,000 a month we're going to get from the government under Yang's plan. So it appears that Yang believes that the government has literally an infinite supply of money. And he also appears to believe that inflation is a myth. It doesn't exist. Because you can just give people money, buy their cars, it's not going to have any inflationary impact on the economy. These are not serious proposals from a serious person. I don't understand what people love this guy. Speaking of unserious people, but in this case, an unserious person with seriously evil ideas. Here is a terrifying exchange involving Bernie Sanders and town hall.
Human population growth has doubled in the past 50 years. The planet cannot sustain this growth. I realize this is a poisonous topic for politicians, but it's crucial to face.
See, this is in the comments. I'm gonna make a video about this. I'm not gonna do it now, but this is why. What do you mean you say the world is overpopulated. This is just a baseless assertion. What do you mean the planet can't sustain this? Where is your evidence that the planet can't sustain this? What in what way? What does this mean? It's just an assertion. And while I'm not good at debating, when I watch these lives and these videos, it actually makes me really challenge, you know, defend your position better, because you can't just make assertions like this.
Would you be courageous enough to discuss this issue?
Dang it. They clap like seals.
Check your fire! Tactical out!
Next hardpoint compromised.
Tossing tactical! Tactical out! Tossing tactical! Tactical out!
He was also referring explicitly to abortion as with a little bit about women to do what they want with the body. That's abortion. And that always refers to there isn't anybody out there.
Taking fire!
Despite the here, there isn't anyone out there who's trying to make birth control illegal. That's not an argument.
Yeah, there are Catholics who believe that, but there's not Catholics like openly like trying to make that the legal system. There's Republican people on the right who don't think people should pay for it for taxes, absolutely. But to say that, oh, they want to ban it, again, that's very niche.
Someone's saying that women should have rights. There are people saying that women should have rights. And so, someone says that abortion. That's what he wants to do. This is Bernie Sanders supporting eugenics. That's it. And this, of course, is not surprising. It's not. Eugenics has been around for over 100 years. Bernie Sanders has also been around. But American leftists have supported eugenics in some using the rhetoric.
Tossing tactical!
The whole idea on a eugenics intelligence, it rests on a modification that is seeing human life, judging the worth of human life with usefulness to society, saying that human life has subjective worth determined by other people, determined by society as a whole, based on their useful or unuseful. That human life is all pro-abortion people see human life as they want in order to so it's not a big leap, it's not a leap at all, actually, to go from that to let's kill babies because they're people. So we shouldn't be shocked. And by the way, every pro-abortion person agrees with what Bernie Sanders wants, even if they won't admit it out loud. They believe in the area. Of course, meanwhile, on this population, it should be stipulated that the population is minimum. It's not. The world is not running out. It is a thing. Especially by people who want to justify genocide. Just to give you an idea, the Earth is very, very big. And on an astronomical level, it's not a very big planet.
Like, he's correct. Like, I'm gonna do a video about this, but, like, in our solar system, the planet is not that big. It's a very small planet in comparison to the other planets in the solar system. In comparison to the other planets in the solar system, the Earth is actually very small. But that being said, the Earth is still hard. Give you that.
Perspective, it is a very, very big planet. You could take, we've got, what, 7 billion people on Earth? You could take them all and fit them all in the state of Texas.
I saw the citation.
Fit into the state of Texas with their own townhouses and their own nice little postage stamp yard. Look at that. You could now, and it would be a lot of room.
So if you mean by that, if you're talking about space, if you mean overpopulation as in space, yeah, there's more than enough space. Yeah, and he said in a previous video, yeah, the planet, there are large parts of the planet you can't live in Antarctica. You obviously can't live in Antarctica. You can't live in the Sahara Desert. So there's obviously places where you can't. But you can move on to Texas, like the states, some of the states are connected. gosh, this is derail. I hate this freaking map.
You know, a factoid like that can be a little deceptive in that it is also true that much of the surface area of the Earth is not, it cannot be inhabited. It's not habitable. Habitable. There we go. It's not habitable. Antarctica, for instance. But the fact remains that there is a lot.
Well, yeah, a large percentage. That's true. A very large percentage of the planet can't be habited, like I said, like Antarctica or the Sahara Desert. That being said, still, there is a lot of space.
Of habitable area on Earth where nobody currently lives. And it will be that way indefinitely. Okay, so we've got a lot of space. And we also have enough food for everyone.
So the space is easily debunked. There's more than enough room. That's very easy to debunk.
Resources, there's enough food, there's enough space. Anyone telling you otherwise is simply lying or they're mistaken. And now, we do have a problem, and I hesitate to use this word because of the implications of it, but we do have a problem with the distribution of the food and the space. In that there are some people on Earth who have a lot of food and waste it, and a lot of space and waste it, and then there are some people who have not enough food and they starve in space. Okay, we know that. And when I say distribution, I'm not saying that we need some big government entity to redistribute it. That's not what I'm saying. But it is disproportionate in the way this stuff is allotted. That's true. But that's not because there are too many people. And the way that I know that is that back when there were 1 billion people on Earth, or 100 million, or 10 million, there were still a lot of people, probably proportionally more than there are today, who were starving and were living in filth and were living in crowded environments. And that's back when there was a quarter of the number of people, or less than that. So it's not a matter of there being too many people. That's not the problem. The solution then is to talk about how to address the issues of poverty and all of that. And that's a good thing to talk about. We can have that discussion. Bernie's solution is to just kill them. Is to say, well, there are people on Earth who are poor families, and so let's just start killing them all. Killing their children. And that leads me to something else. This is kind of interesting. Have you noticed, and I'm sure you have, that the people who advocate reducing the population to save the planet always want to start by killing babies? Have you noticed that?
We're planting at Alpha.
Which, that does not really seem like the most logical place to start. But poor babies especially.
Only you remain. Finish the mission.
They say there's too many people on Earth. We got to start getting rid of people. Not just let's prevent more people from being conceived, but we have to actually get rid of some people who've already been conceived. And so the people who say that say, well, let's begin with they never seem to see themselves as members of the surplus population.
It's kind of like this view of Christianity, this Trent Horn video, right? That I saw. It's like the good person fallacy, or this will send you to hell. It's like, notice how when people are defining good person, they, like most people, there's obviously exceptions to the rule, but most people, when they good person, notice how they perfectly fit into the definition of a good person. Because again, they're not the, notice how they are not the bad people. It's like, a good person is somebody who doesn't lie. So if they're an honest person, obviously they're not going to fit under that, right? Right? They're not a bad person, or a bad person is someone who lies constantly. Now, if you don't lie constantly, notice how, you're not going to fit into that definition. Same thing if overpopulation. I'm gonna make a video about this eventually.
In need of extermination.
But like, yeah, Bernie Sanders, this thing like 70. If he were to take his, like, that's the thing of overpopulation. If you were to take this to its logical conclusion, Bernie Sanders is one of the first people you kill. He is old. He consumes resources. He doesn't have much to benefit to society. You would start killing old people, elderly people, sick people, disabled people, all these demographics. All right, because you're just consuming resources. But of course they don't, because when you actually realize this is a very evil position.
Strange coincidence that is. I mean, if you really think the world is overpopulated and the solution is to kill people, you could contribute to the solution in a more direct way. Now, I'm not advocating suicide. I'm not advocating that people who believe in overpopulation go out and commit mass suicide. I don't think they should. I'm just saying that maybe stop trying to throw babies into the fire if you're not willing to go there yourself.
On to the next.
If there is a surplus population, if that's really a thing, where there are too many people, well, how do you know you're not part of the surplus? And it would seem like, again, if that's true, the most direct solution would be for you to at least make sure that you're not part of the problem. And also, you know, the word consent is supposed to be very meaningful these days. Well, the babies don't consent. You might say that there's overpopulation, we don't have room for them. Babies don't consent to being killed. You can consent to it. So it just seems to me that would be the most direct solution.
We lost that round. Prepare for the next one.
Think about Bernie Sanders for a second, specifically. Now, it's morally for anyone to get up there and advocate for killing babies.
Nah, I've seen this video multiple times. I already know basically what he's going to say.
To curb population growth. So for anyone to do that is disgusting and evil. But it's all the more grotesque and cowardly.
Yes, an old man.
Just egregious. To have an elderly man pushing 80 years old getting up there and saying, Bernie Sanders is, he doesn't have that much time left. Most people, the average life expectancy for a man is, I think, or maybe less than that. Most people don't make it to 80. Few people. You're almost definitely not making it to 100. The most likely scenario is that Bernie Sanders is dead anyway within 10 years. It's just, that's what the statistics are. And as he continues to age, he's going to become more and more burden on the people around. He's going to become less and less able to contribute to society, and more of a burden to society and to his family and so on. That's the trajectory that we all follow if we live long. So again, if you really have this utilitarian, materialistic view of human life, and if you really think that, well, look, babies, we don't need them, there's too many people. If that's really how you see it, and if that's really how we're judging human life, and so now we have to start getting rid of surplus people, it would almost seem like it would make more sense to begin with people on the other end of the life spectrum. Because, yeah, with babies, it's true that with their to not be able to contribute, it's going to be, for lack of a better term, a burden on their parents.
We lost that
but
round. Prepare for the
that's
next
not
one.
going to last forever. In theory, eventually they're going to go on and be on their own and contribute to society. They've got all the potential. They could go on and cure cancer, or they could do anything. Right? But if you're 80 years old, then whatever potential you had has probably mostly been realized or not realized. And you're going more into the phase of being burdened, and we're never going to come out of this. So it just seems to me, if this is getting rid of
someone like, me, I'm 33 years old. If there was any chance that I would have cancer, I've gone in a different direction. I've done this instead. Maybe I could have cured cancer, but I decided to do this instead. So I'm probably never going to cure cancer. I'm probably never going to contribute that much to society. I mean, this is probably the most I'm going to do. And so, hey, maybe I get tossed in the scrap heap too. I don't know. It just, to begin with babies makes no sense to me. Even from the, as I said, utilitarian, materialistic.
Like that's how you destroy people's worldview. Because even if you were to adopt it, this is why no one should subscribe to this overpopulation. Because even if you were to subscribe to this framework, you see how immoral and delusional it sounds. It's so bad, it makes no sense. Even if you were to accept it, because it's still illogical. It makes no sense to only kill babies, but then not kill the elderly and kill the sick and all these groups of people. Because again, they're just consuming society.
Viewpoint of liberals. Or maybe this whole line of thinking is just horrifically deranged